Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about Joe Biden, the presidential nominee for the Democrats, who has a very bad controversy unfurling within his camp. Basically, what's been going on is there's been some corrupt dealings between the Biden family and some foreign powers that were previously part of Joe Biden's jurisdiction while he was vice president under President Obama. Biden was vice president for 8 years, and during that time, one of his charges was being in charge with the relation between the U.S. and Ukraine. He met with Ukrainians over there. He even intimidated them to dropping prosecutors because, you see, what happened was as soon as Biden was in charge of Ukraine, his son started getting job offers there. Specifically, a big major company in the Ukraine gave Hunter Biden, his son, this big fancy job that he wasn't qualified for. He had no experience, and everyone pretty much knows that it was given to him because his dad was vice president. It was like a quid pro quo, like, I'll give your son a job and a bunch of money if you give us special treatment and money from your government. The thing that Biden actually held over their heads was financial aid coming from the U.S. going to the Ukraine. I believe they get like $1 billion from us. So he was using that as leverage to get his son preferential treatment, to get the prosecutor dropped off his case. And even more stuff has been coming out. Basically, Biden's family's corrupt. He's getting his son money. His son also got a multi-million-dollar check from a Russian oligarch. A mayor's wife in Russia gave Hunter Biden millions of dollars, and it just gets worse from there. The new thing that's come out in this development, in this story, is what some are calling a smoking gun email, which reveals how Hunter Biden introduced his dad to some Ukrainian businessmen. This article has more details. Most of this story is coming from the Post. Essentially, from what I've heard, a laptop and hard drive was revealed to the Post, and it was from Hunter Biden. It had lots of incriminating things on it, had pictures of him doing selfies, smoking, taking part in illegal activities. It also details how he introduced his dad to this Ukrainian businessman, basically using his dad's stature as a high-profile politician to get him jobs and money and opportunities in the Ukraine. This is an abuse of power. This is very frowned upon at the least, and certainly something you should question before you vote for someone like Joe Biden. I mean, who knows what else he'll do if he's in the top power. He's going to be president if he wins this election, God forbid, and he's going to be doing more corrupt stuff like this. So let's get into more details. Let's check out this story. And also, before we get into it, the New York Post is a godsend because they're one of the few people actually talking about this. Other people are actually silencing this. That's something we'll get to later. They're trying to hide this story. Everyone's talking about it now, but the Democrats are doing their best to try and hide it. It says smoking gun email reveals how Hunter introduced his dad to Ukrainian businessmen. Now let's read the article. Hunter Biden introduced his father, then Vice President Joe Biden, to a top executive at Ukrainian energy firm less than a year before the elder Biden pressured government officials in Ukraine into firing a prosecutor who was investigating the company, according to the emails obtained by the Post. So that's already pretty bad. That's a bit of a recap like we talked about before. Let's go ahead and keep moving on. The never before revealed meeting is mentioned in a message of appreciation that Vadim Pozharsky, an advisor to the board of Burisma, allegedly sent Hunter Biden on April 17, 2015, about a year after Hunter joined the Burisma board, at a reported salary of $50,000 per month. That is a lot of money for sure, especially for someone who never worked in this field before, had very little to do with this country or this industry. Basically, out of nowhere, he's getting 50 grand a month. That is super suspect. That is not something Hunter Biden should be walking into. Without his father, obviously, he would not be getting offers like this. This guy is a disgraced, failed soldier who left in shame because he's addicted to illegal things. It's a very bad person with no experience. So the fact that they're doing this and getting this money should be raising everyone's alarms. We should be like Metal Gear Solid right now. Like exclamation point is above our heads because we are totally seeing alerts. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving an opportunity to meet your father and spent some time together. It really is an honor and pleasure, the email reads. An earlier email from May 2014 also shows Pozharsky, reportedly Burisma's number 3 exec, asking Hunter for advice on how you could use your influence on the company's behalf. The blockbuster correspondence, which flies in the face of Joe Biden's claim that he's never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings, is contained in a massive trove of data recovered from a laptop computer. So there's a copy, an image of the email. This is contradictory to what Biden said about his son. This actually came up in a few questions and the debate. I believe he denied this in the debate. So now Joe Biden is a proven liar. And you just got to think to yourself, what if this was happening the other way around? I mean, supposedly Trump was colluding with Russia. That that never was proven. They never got evidence for that. They just made that up out of thin air. And now we have evidence and proof and obvious red flags for Biden and his son coordinating with Ukraine, which is a former Soviet country. I mean, they used to be Russians. They're basically next to Russia. I think they're like very corrupt there, apparently. And yeah, it just goes to show that, yeah, if this was Donald Trump Jr. or Donald Trump, the president's sons or daughters, if they went to work for 50 grand a month at a Ukrainian company, like forget about it. Everyone will be talking about that nonstop. But now that it's coming under Biden, they're fine. They're covering up for it. No one wants to talk about it. And even you'll see some people are avoiding talking about it altogether. And in addition, big tech is trying to silence this story and take it out of the news cycle completely. The computer was dropped off at a repair shop in Biden's home state of Delaware in April 2019, according to the store's owner. Other material extracted from the computer includes a raunchy 12-minute video that appears to show Hunter, who's admitted to struggling with addiction problems, using a bad kind of drug, and also is having inappropriate relations with a person that's not his wife. Let's just put it that way. And let's also note that Hunter Biden has done other scandalous things like shacking up with his dead brother's widow. He's also had illegitimate kids that he's basically forgotten about. Biden doesn't even mention his grandkids that are from other parents, people that he didn't marry. There's a lot of shady stuff in this family's background. It's not a functional family. It's not a happy home. And it's not American values and conservative kind of thinking like what happens with the Trump side. Trump's got a beautiful family. Sure, there's some love lost. Not everyone's perfect. They've had a few divorces and stuff like that. But in general, Trump has a lot of kids that really love him. He has grandkids. He has all kinds of great family that supports him. They're not involved in illegal activities. They're not taking bribes from former Soviet countries. And it's just ridiculous because that's so funny that the press tried to pin this on Trump for 4 years, and now they're ignoring it when Biden does it blatantly in our faces. But before turning over the gear, the shop owner says he made a copy of the hard drive and later gave it to Rudy Giuliani. Steve Bannon, a former advisor to Trump, told the Post about the existence of a hard drive in late September, and Giuliani provided the Post with a copy. Less than 8 months after Pozharskyi thanked Hunter Biden in an introduction to his dad, the then vice president admittedly pressured Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko and Prime Minister Arsenij Yatsenyuk into getting rid of Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin by threatening to withhold $1 billion U.S. loan guarantee during the 2015 December trip to Kiev. So some tricky names in there. Okay, I know I messed a few of those up, but we're getting back to more of the story about how Biden kind of threatened Ukraine, saying they won't get $1 billion if they prosecute his son. And Biden bragged about this. We went over this video a while back. I looked at them and said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor is not fired, you're not getting the money. Biden infamously bragged to the Council on Foreign Relations in 2018. Well, he got fired is what he ended up saying. So it worked. His little taking hostage of this grant, of this kind of loan to Ukraine, got him more preferential treatment. He bragged about it, which is a very, very bold thing to do. This shows how the Democrats, they really don't care. They think when they break the law, it's okay. They think it's okay when they do it. They're kind of like these dictators or kings who just change the law and the rules when it suits them. Whenever they say they do something, it's okay when they do it. It's literally not illegal when a king does something because the king's doing it. And that's kind of how the liberals think. They think they can just get away with whatever. Next, I wanted to point out this part. This is from Kurt. It says, New York Times, the newspaper of record, has the following stories on its timeline instead of emails showing Hunter Biden was selling access to his father, the current Democrat nominee for president. Here are the stories they are covering. Instead of that, they've got Icelandic tourism, some guy in India who prays to Trump, BTS. I don't know if that's behind the scenes or maybe that band called BTS, and where Kamala went to college. That's the vice president for the Democrats. And yeah, essentially they're doing this move from Dumb and Dumber where they're just ignoring it. They're putting their hands over their ears, making loud noises, and just basically ignoring the story. That's the New York Times summary. And as you can see by this next one, this is what the Facebookers are deciding to do. They say, while I will intentionally not link to the New York Post, I want to be clear that this story is eligible to be fact-checked by Facebook's third-party fact-checking partners. In the meantime, we are reducing its distribution on our platform. So this is someone that works at Facebook Communications, openly admitting they're reducing the distribution of information they don't like. They don't list an explanation here. The first says, can you explain why it's wrong or what's wrong with it, why it's not right, where are the fact checks? And it's just, they're proving their bias. This is big tech. This is Facebook. This is similar things that are happening on Twitter, other platforms. They want to hide this story because it makes the Democrats look bad. They're in the bag. bag for the left, and they'll hide and manipulate the election. I mean, this is straight up openly admitting to election manipulation. And this is what they accused Trump of. This is what they said, oh, it was illegal because Trump colluded with Russia. Russia bought ads for Trump or something like that. So this is another example of it's okay when liberals do it. They're allowed to meddle in the elections. They're allowed to distribute information and control the flow and act like they're kind of the gatekeepers for the public. They form these sorts of cabals in media, in big tech, in California, in places that make movies, Hollywood, entertainment, the music industry, all that stuff. They have the control. They use the power to manipulate things. They use it to kind of change the narrative, hide stories they don't like, highlight things that are non-stories, and other bad stuff like that. Back to the article, this part says, Pozarski said the representative of new authorities in power tend to quite aggressively approach NZ, unofficially the aim to obtain cash for him. NZ isn't identified in the email, but it appears to be a reference to Burisma founder Mykola Zolochki-Zevsky, whose first name and Ukrainian version of Nicholas. When the alleged shakedown failed, they proceeded to concrete actions in the form of one or more pre-trial proceedings, Pojinsky wrote. So more details about this case, more connections between Biden's and Ukraine. It just seems really fishy to me. I don't know why they're meddling and dealing with Ukraine, why they're at this foreign country way over on the other side of the planet, dealing with this company that's big there and making these deals with the presidents of Ukraine. It's just super shady. I can't believe this is a candidate for president. I can't believe people take him seriously, and I really don't think anyone else should. That wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment on everything below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw. Subscribe if you're new, and see you on the next video. Have a great day.